Hey Marty, we just wanted to give you a video here real quick to explain everything and what's going on, to give you a price on these repairing. First of all, I just want to show you the difference in kind of what we're doing here, just to give you an idea. Scotty, kind of get a close-up on here. What we have to go through is we have to take all this old paint that's on here and we've got to grind it all down and get it to where that it's smooth and all the pieces that are flaked off are all off of there so that the paint holds good. Also, once we get this done, this takes about 2.5 hours. Once we get it done, then we've got to go through all the pieces that are rotted through, like this section right here. It's got to get a close-up of that, maybe from over on that side. All these pieces here that are all rotted through, and we replace those and go through, and anything that's wiggling around or broken, and then but once we replace this, then we got to replace, show them that piece that's rotted all the way through inside there. We have to replace all those pieces, and we replace it with new steel. Once we get all that done, we make sure that all the sides all have these holes in them. I don't know if there is a hole on that side at the top.
Oh, you're talking about the screw hole?
Yeah, the screw holes. All of these are screwed together rather than welded. And on this other side over here, there's screw holes down at the bottom, which what happens, there's one right here, gives a good example. Where water is getting in these holes, the water and the urine is getting in those holes, and it's sitting in there, and it's actually causing the material to rot from the inside out. Also, all the casters that are on the bottom of here on a repair, we go through and replace all the casters. We replace all the steel that's bad with new steel. All of the bolt locks that we got on here, we replace those with these gravity latches that are specifically designed to shut themselves. So anytime that you would open up a cage and you would shut it, it automatically shuts, where the old ones you have to shut it manually. Also, what we would do on the repairs is I'm going to start putting these springs on there so that when you do open up the cage door, it will automatically shut. We're also replacing all the bolt type latches on the top. We're putting all new ones on, and the part of this that we're looking at is all the hinges, all of the latches, and everything are all riveted on there. Well, the rivets, not only do they break off and rust out, but also the hinges, they've just kind of put screws in these hinges right here, where eventually they start to back out, and some of these are already starting to come out. Here, show them an example, like right here. They're starting to come out, and what happens is that over time that just starts getting wallered out, and then it makes the hole bigger, and then they just fall apart. Where everything that we do, we grind all that paint off of there, and we make good fusion with welds and have all the hinges, all the latches, everything is welded on. All the bad places, now show them inside here, Scotty. We've taken, and show them this side right here. All the bad places we have taken and put in these new plates on each side. They'll have to see it from the inside of the cage probably. We put these new plates in, and then we put new tubing in so that these parts are all solid, and actually it's going to help hold the frame all together. We also take out all the bolts, and we try to fill the bolt holes so that the water doesn't get in there, and then we've got them all welded together and cross-welded on the bottom so that it makes the cage much more solid and substantial. And of course then going in and replacing all of the casters. The casters that we're using, as you can see, are a lot different than the old ones. They're bigger, they're sturdier, there's more of a surface area here to weld on, and they also have stops on them so that they can stay stationary, where these will just roll around. So this whole process of going through and replacing all this stuff has taken us about between 5 and 6 hours to do. In looking at it, we're putting on all Rust-Oleum paint and primer. We're priming them first with a real heavy coat of Rust-Oleum primer. Then we're going over the top of it with a flat black Rust-Oleum paint. And so the paint should last for a while. But the problem is that over the course of time, all of the new metal that we've put in will be there for quite some time. However, the old metal, it's old and it's rusted, and we've replaced all the parts that are visually deteriorated, but there's going to be parts in here that we didn't see that is eventually going to rust out. So you will probably end up having problems with these again. No problem to bring them in and redo them, but it's just that you're continuing to build cost. So in my mind, in looking at these now and having a little bit of experience with it by working with these, here's the major malfunction and the reason why these cages were, you know, $200 or $150 or whatever it was that was paid for them new. The main thing, the reason why this deterioration is happening is because they used the cheapest materials that they could get. This is the wall thickness right here of the tubing that's being used. The wall thickness that we use is, as you can see you see that good through there? Mm-hmm. The wall thickness is almost triple, if not quadruple, the wall thickness of the tubing. With this tubing right here, this will allow these cages to be sturdier. It will allow them to be welded all the way around rather than riveted and bolted. There won't be any areas where water can sit down in there because everything will be welded all the way around. So therefore, the water will only go on the outside of the tubing, never go on the inside and sit, and water and the acid in the urine is what's causing these to go bad. But in all of your connections on all of these cages, you have all of this space in here. Then show them this space right here. This is exactly what we're talking about right there, is that they haven't welded these except just on the two sides. They've left the top open, and in there is where water's getting trapped. It's just sitting in these tubes, and it's causing it to rust from the inside out. All the connections here, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's welded on the outside, but there's no weld on the inside. And that's the way it is all the way around here. That's the reason why these things are going bad so quickly. The combination of the thicker steel and being welded all the way around where water won't be able to penetrate on the inside of the tubing, this is going to allow these cages to last for a long time. And what I'm saying is the charge that we would have to charge in order to pay for the materials. I wrote a list down here. The materials for the repairing is costing us $65 for our cost. We're putting about 5 to 6 hours in here. We're just charging $25 an hour, so the labor's $125, so 65 and 125. The repair work is going to be $190 each. Now this is just my thought, but I put together what it would be to replace these in mild steel new. We would use all heavy-duty tubing just like we used here. They'd be welded all the way around. The time saving of having to go and wire wheel all of this old paint off of here, we wouldn't have to do that with the new ones. We would go ahead and just use off of your old ones. We would just use this interior piece right here, the fencing. We would make the framework out of the heavy tubing, weld it all the way around, use all of the real nice casters with the locking, and do all welded hinges, all welding striker latches. And the cost on this, the difference is $325. Okay, and that difference in the cost, you're talking about like $135 per cage. But here's the difference. In my mind, I'm looking at the longevity of these things, and if we send these back at $190, they may last another 6 months. Our part that we repaired will still be intact, but the rest of it that is still the old steel, that eventually probably in pretty short order, will start to deteriorate again. So you're going to end up having to have them repaired again, which is just more cost. In my mind, that $135 per cage, what it would do is it would get you a basically brand new cage, and the difference in the wall thickness, the paint, the welded hinges, all this is just a guesstimate, but I would be willing to stand behind it. I would say they would last a minimum of 5 years, if not much longer. So, and if something did happen to them within 5 years, I would be happy to replace the part or put it in for no cost. That's how confident I am that it's the materials, and that's the reason why these were so inexpensive to begin with. Is strictly because they used the cheapest materials they could find, and everything is bolted together and riveted rather than welded. And the welds that they did put on were only partial welds. They only did 1 or 2 sides. They left all of these gaps, and for your type of application, when you're cleaning these cages out, you're using bleach, and we're talking about an extreme amount of dog urine and things of that nature, this will not happen. I'm showing this right here. This type of situation will not happen, because this type of, let's get it up here in the light a little better maybe. This situation is happening, as I mentioned, because of the gaps in the where it's not welded, and the water's sitting in here and the urine's sitting in there, and these are actually rusting from the inside out. I know it's a little bit more expensive maybe than you'd planned, but the fact of the matter is that you're getting 10 times as good a cage, and these things should last you much longer. I'm thinking, like I said, if something happened within a 5-year period, I would stand behind them. I would bring them over here to the shop, and I would replace whatever part was bad and repaint them, get them back in shape again for no cost. That's how confident I am. So with that said, I'll let you decide, and just let me know. To repair them, as I mentioned, is $190. To completely redo them with all brand new materials, using the mild steel, and again, with using the wall thicknesses of actually a 14 gauge rather than using this is probably like a 24 gauge tubing. And as you can see, there's absolutely no comparison. And being able to weld all the way around each joint without leaving any gaps for water and urine to get in, these things should last forever. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of see what we're talking about here, and to give you a chance to kind of look at your budget for this stuff and decide if the extra $135 would be a wise investment for you. Just let us know.